Episode 3436, Never Accept the Odds.
Moms, it's time to rediscover, rejuvenate, and renew who you are in mind, body, and spirit. Welcome to Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie, the show to help you do just that. Here's your host, certified life coach, personal trainer, and nutritionist, Kristianne Wargo.
Happy day. Are you having a fabulous weekend? Oh, I hope you're enjoying some sunshine. Hopefully you're staying cool too, because I know in a lot of our areas we are having extreme heat. So stay inside and take a little longer listen here. It's Relationship Builders. Never accept the odds. For those of you who are brand new to Create Your Now, welcome to this incredible family. I'm so delighted of your presence. If you already even had the opportunity, you'll want to head on over to createyournow.com, where you can learn more and sign up for the K.I.S.S newsletter, the Keep It Simple strategy, everyday solutions to live, love, and impact. Well, this episode is brought to you by AIM, Inspiring Connection and Community. Speaking of connection and community, if you tried to get on my website yesterday, oh yes, I told you we were revamping it, right? Well, do you want to hear the story? Okay, this is a quick story. Stay with me because everything, it all blends together because we're doing life together. But our website went a catastrophe poof. And if you went there and you saw like, oh, well, that's Kristianne, but wow, what happened? Like it was my old site from, oh my goodness, a long time ago that popped up. I don't know what happened. I'm trying to make sure everything's going right. It was redirected. And anyway, we kind of had a little crash for about 12, 24 hours. So if you were experiencing that yesterday and maybe a little bit even today, I am sorry. I apologize. But you know what? I did tell you good things are coming around the corner. And sometimes we just have to go through the muck of life in order to get to the beautiful blossoms of what we're looking for. So I appreciate your patience and thank you for sticking with me. I'm always here every single day and I bring the real and raw to you. Man, I am just like dying to get all this stuff to you. You have no idea. You have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. And maybe one of these days we'll do some just behind the scenes shots for everything from when we do the podcast, the TV show. We're going to be filming next week. And so writing more, if you're interested in that, remember, we've got our TV show on pray.com. I would encourage you to go there. We've got some incredible featured leaders there. And also we are ramping that up to have it on actually our website, if I can even speak, our website at createyournow.com. I know it's not there yet. And we've got some food coming up. Ugh, everything's better with food, is it not? So more to come on that too. So just be patient. The next, probably 4 to 6 weeks, there's going to be a lot of changes for all of us, you, me, my house. I mean, just life in itself. And the way I look at it, it's an adventure. And I think about adventures in our everyday, even with relationships, specifically our marriages. Did you ever think you would be on the ride that you're on right now? I didn't tell you your ride was great. I didn't tell you your ride was good. I just said that you're on a ride. And a lot of times we go to that amusement park and we're like, I cannot wait to ride this ride. It's going to be fabulous. And then you get on it and you're like, what was that? I waited 2.5 hours. And you may be saying that about your marriage right now. Oh, what was this? What was I thinking? I waited 22 years for this. Or maybe for you, it's 2 months. Or maybe you're like, oh my goodness, why didn't I jump on the bandwagon? We dated for 8 years and now, it would have been spectacular. Maybe, maybe not. You don't know where you sit till you sit there. And it's kind of one of those strange things when two people stand at the altar, right? And they exchange vows. The last thing on their minds is the possibility of becoming just another statistic. If you ever thought of breaking up was in the cards, never accept the odds. And what I mean by that is that, maybe you thought about separation or divorce. And if you're honest, you've thought about that. You've gotten to the point where you said, this was not the ride I wanted to get on. Whether it's 2 days, 2 months, 2 years, 22 years, 42 years, whatever it is for you. And we look at it and we're like, why did I do this? But then at the same time, you know that relationships require effort. You know that you have to be dedicated if you're going to make it work. And you know you have to have the willingness to beat the odds. Because unfortunately, it's easier to not work on something than it is to make the changes for it to work. We settle in And we're like, well, I'm just going to go with what I go with. And if I don't like it, I'm getting out. I can drop a $500 bill, a $1,000 bill, and I can get out of the situation. We can make it amicable. We can just like say, that's it. We don't want to deal with each other, and away we go. And yeah, you can even have kids and do that. Now, kids make it more complicated. But whether you're looking at separation legally, separation as in you just need to get out of my house type of separation, maybe you're looking at divorce or you have been through divorce. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, I haven't thought about any of this, but I'm listening. Never accept the odds, my friend. You know, there's many couples that face challenges in their marriage, right? We all do. If someone ever tells you that marriage is easy, run. Run for the hills. Don't listen to their stories. It's all a lie. It is. Because marriage takes work. And in marriage, you have challenges. Have you ever had a best friend? Have you ever fought? And I'm not saying a physical fight. I'm saying with words, attitude, tone of voice, and it may be over crazy, stupid things. Like, oh, you didn't ask me to wear that. You just borrowed it thinking I would say yes. Remember back in those days? Rather than accepting defeat and saying, you know what, I'm just going to throw the towel in. It's crucial to take proactive steps to strengthen the foundation of your relationship, to strengthen the foundation of your marriage and increase its security. You can beat the odds. That is your KISS to keep it simple strategy. Beat the odds. And it's not about beating the odds with what you know right now. It's dealing with what you don't know. And most people don't want to look at that, right? Because why? It's easier not to work on something than it is to make the changes for it to work. It's easier to quit. It's easier to throw in the towel. It's easier to say, I don't want to be around you. I've got an incredible girlfriend, and she has hung on in there with her marriage, and she has done everything that she believes she can do, and she's still not getting out of it what she thinks she should be. She's done a lot of work on herself, but she's got a spouse that's sleeping next to her or sometimes not sleeping next to her, and that spouse does not want to make the changes. There's some, but it's not anything that really sticks. What do you do in that situation? Now, I'm not here to generalize anything. I'm not here to say you need to do this. It's not a one size fits all. This is information for you to take and figure out, how can I utilize this in my marriage? Will it work? Maybe you've already tried some of these things. I will state this. Everybody needs a professionally licensed counselor. A therapist that says, I can help you through this. Tried and true. And it doesn't have to be a couple counseling session. It can be just for you. Because you've got to heal too. And regardless of how your marriage ends up, you will always be the woman, the sister, the mother if you have kids, the grandmother. Like, that will never change. Your marriage may be different, but who you are as in a person, that's going to be you, no matter if you're married or not. So you got to work on yourself. And I think a lot of times we think, oh, but I'm in it to save my marriage. No, you need to be in it to look at yourself so you can love yourself. When my husband and I were going through our craziness of life, our tornado, our hurricane, whatever you want to call it, it was the storm of all storms. And it came in like a wrecking ball. Can we start the song? No, we won't. I'll have to pay extra for that. We'll leave that too for another episode. But seriously, I mean, I was like, oh, how did I even get there? I had no words. I had no emotions initially. I was in complete shock. I mean, it was like I jumped in a full polar ice plunge and I didn't know how to respond. To this day, I can remember where I was standing, how I was standing, where I was, what was around me. And my whole life shifted at that moment. But you see, I was willing to beat the odds. I was willing to say, you know what, I want to go beyond what everybody else is telling me. Everybody else was telling me to throw in the towel. Everybody else was saying, you just got to quit while you're ahead. You didn't see it coming. You did everything. Well, you know, it's his loss. I mean, I heard it all. I also heard that I was the one that was at fault. I was blamed for many things. Oh man, talk about being torn up from the outside in and the inside out. Oh, I was. It was a ringer. It was a wrecking ball. And it came in so strong. I was like, there's no way we're going to get through this. But there was something about it that I said, but I have hope. And I'm going to beat the odds. Well, you know my story. I did beat the odds. We're happily married, stronger than ever, madly in love, more than we've ever been. I mean, now this was over a decade ago. We went through all this craziness. And a long time ago, 15 years almost now, 14 years, long time ago. And it didn't happen overnight, by the way, okay? Just so you know that. When you get into the muck of your marriage, it did not happen overnight. It will feel like it did, but it did not. It took a lot to get to where you are now. That's why if you want to beat the odds, you got to look at these three things. And we've talked about this before, but I want you to think at it from a different perspective. I want you to think about you're building the foundation. We're looking at a lot of houses. We're considering building our house. And so with that, I'm looking at house plans. I'm looking at flooring. I'm looking at, everything, you name it. I am so in the mode as to, if I was to build my dream home, what would that look like? From ground zero, like how many floors do I want underground? Like what do I want people to be greeted on one side versus the back side, right? The front of the house, the back of the house, the friend's entrance. What does that all look like? So I'm dreaming of all this stuff. So when you look at beating the odds in marriage, you've got to look at it that you're building a foundation. You're building your house. And sometimes in a renovation, you got to tear stuff down in order to build it back up. Sometimes you got to do that in marriage. You got to tear stuff down in order to build it back up. You just do. And you've got to be willing to be vulnerable first with yourself, who you see in that mirror. And then you could be real with your spouse. But it starts with you first. So one way to beat the odds is to actively listen to what you're saying, how you're saying it, when you're saying it, where you're saying it, what you're saying, and then listening to your partner. Communication is key. We know this in any relationship, but specifically in marriage, and truly hearing what you are saying and how you're saying it and hearing what your spouse has to say. Right, can help foster understanding and empathy. A lot of times we just kind of blow each other off. Has your spouse ever blown you off? Doesn't feel so great, does it? It's like, well, whatever. Doesn't really matter, does it? Oh, it does matter. When you ask your spouse about, hey, how was your day? I want to know everything. And then you get nothing. It's flatline. Like no one comes back to you and says, hey, sweetheart, how was your day? You're like, what about me? Now, one day, not a big deal. 20 years, big deal. You get what I'm saying, right? So set aside dedicated time each day to have some meaningful conversations that can really begin to deepen and strengthen your connection with each other. And when you do that, it will help to prevent misunderstandings. Why? Because you know each other. Remember, change is a constant. Just because you said I do doesn't mean you're going to be the same person that you said I do to at that moment in time. You guys are going to change every single day. Your experiences, your situations, your circumstances, your finances, your emotional stability, your psychological influence, all of that, your spirituality, all of that has influence. And then you got the kids. Oh, then that's a whole nother layer. And then you become grandparents. That's a whole nother layer. And you wonder, how am I even standing up? But if you don't have those meaningful conversations, listening is like the glue. Think of it as like the glue. You know, when you're putting together the foundation, we had a house that was built literally right next door to us. And it's a long story. I won't go into it, but I literally watched them. And at the time they were building, I would walk every single day. So I knew their progress. And I could look outside my daughter's window and see exactly what they were doing, how they were doing it. In fact, I even have pictures of it because there was some concern. I won't go into the details, but I was watching how they built it. And so they were building the foundation, because we're here in the South, with the cinder blocks. And they have to be so far down And they have to use certain material, right, to hold those cinder blocks together. They have to have the rebarb, I think is what they call it, those little metal things. Yeah, anyway, I know enough to be dangerous about building, but I watch it and I understand it. And so I'm sitting here watching all of this stuff and trying to understand the nitty gritty. But when you have to put the stuff together, the masonry stuff that holds it all together, yeah, that's called listening. That's the glue. If you're not listening, your marriage is going to fall apart, and so are you. So you've got to actively listen. You've got to say, what can I do to hear my spouse more? What can I do to, wait. What can I do to quiet my mouth so my ears can actually hear and I can listen? Sometimes we talk too much. Listening is more than hearing words. It's understanding the heart behind them. Are you listening to your spouse? Are you listening to yourself? Maybe you need to hear that you've got a broken heart and you don't even know you have a broken heart. But man, when you talk, it's like daggers coming out of your mouth. The words are just like sharp and pointed edges, and they just cut like a knife because you got some stuff that you got to work through. My friend, that's your reflection. That's not on your spouse, that's on you. So you've got to look at all of it. Are you actively listening? Another essential component of a successful marriage is prioritizing quality time together. Oh, yes, we are always better together. That's why we said I do. We have these dreams, we come together, but guess what? You say I do at the altar, and just like you thought you were listening and you're never going to change from that altar, you are going to change. Your circumstances, your situations, your time together changes. Because time changes. It looks different after you say I do. And when you're so busy, that hustle and bustle of daily life, of the grind, it's easy to let precious moments slip away. So schedule those regular date nights. Schedule those times to be engaged in shared activities, right? That's when you can reignite the spark and reinforce your bond together as one. Otherwise, you are going to quote unquote drift apart. We've all heard that. I've fallen out of love. Oh, I've drifted apart. Oh, we've grown apart. Whatever thing you want to throw in there as a phrase, we've all heard it. Because at some point, if you haven't said it out loud, you've said it in your mind. You've questioned. That's being human. I'm not saying that's wrong. That's being honest. But I want you to look at it from a factual perspective. So then you can deal with it and grow from it. Then you can take the feelings and say, okay, now let's integrate this. And what does this look like? Okay, now we've got the forgiveness. Now we've got all of this coming together. So it's a process. It takes dedication, but you can do it. You can do it. So simple gestures, right? That say, hey, I love you. A simple text throughout the day. Maybe it's just 3 hearts. Now on, yes, I'm an Apple lady. I've got an iPhone, and now you can do like these weird signs, and you can have stuff that comes up when you do FaceTime behind you or in front of you or whatever. It's fun, little things like that. If you're traveling, figure out what it's like to show balloons. It's a peace sign. Just telling you. No charge for that, by the way. It's cool. You have to kind of hold it in front of the camera where it can see you. You hold up like the peace sign, so 2 fingers, and it'll throw balloons in front. How cool is that? If you do 2 thumbs up, it's fireworks. Try it. I know. Just the little things you learn here at Create Your Now. But those are the fun little things that you can do when you're traveling and you can't be together and say, hey, you just light up my world, and like put the 2 thumbs up, and they'll be like, what? And your spouse will see the fireworks. Oh, wow, how did you do that? And they'll think you're magical. Now, maybe they already know, but have they used it on you? No, probably not. Maybe you need a surprise getaway. Maybe you need to plan a weekend and say, I'm getting rid of the kids and we're just going to have a staycation here because we don't have the money. That's okay. Call grandma and grandpa. Say, hey, we need some time. Can you take the kids? Can you take them literally out of our house so we can have a staycation? Right? Demonstrate your commitment to nurture your relationship. And that's saying that, you know what? You matter to me. And when you have that quality time, it's about quality time first with your reflection, meaning you're taking care of yourself. And then the second part of the quality time, better together, is that because I'm taking care of myself, then I can take care of us together. And you put in the time to be better together. And then The last thing, and I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, you got to practice forgiveness and let go of the grudges. That's essential for overcoming any challenge in a marriage. Because if you hold on to past resentments, it's going to create a barrier to true intimacy, and it's going to prevent healing. All you're going to do is keep bringing things up, and the hurt's going to still be there. Maybe muted a little bit, but it's still going to be there. You've got to learn how to forgive. That doesn't mean you forget. But forgiving is letting go and saying, I can't control that part. I don't like it. I don't understand it. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have conversation about it. Whatever that is, that's when a licensed therapist is a good idea. Working with a marriage coach. I've worked with many couples before. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, how do we get past this? What does that walk look like? You can do it. When you acknowledge the mistakes, when you express remorse and you offer forgiveness, that's when you say, you know what? I can move forward with a clean slate and a renewed sense of purpose. But that doesn't give you an excuse to go and do the same thing bad again, okay? If you were the one who did the bad thing. If your spouse did a bad thing, you're not forgiving them so they can just go back and do a bad thing, okay? That's not what I'm saying here. There's got to be a thing that, okay, I'm going to try better. That doesn't mean they're going to be perfect, but is there progress? And maybe the next time it happens, then you figure that out. Now, it depends on what is happening, right? That's why I said this is a little bit of generalizations here. It's not a one size fits all. It's one of those things where you really, really, really have to tune in on what you want to do and where you want to go. And is it something you can work through? I mean, it may be an extramarital affair. It could be an emotional affair. It could be one where you're just not spending any time with me. Maybe it's one where you're not helping me with the kids. Maybe you're just sitting around doing nothing. Like literally you go to work, thanks for providing. But just because you're providing doesn't mean you can't come and help do things with the house, right? Whatever it is, whatever you're looking at, you got to get through that. You got to talk about it. Hence the listening, the better together, right? Our quality time. It all comes together, right? It's this big ball of yarn. And if it's not all working together, it's going to fall apart. My friend, forgiveness is not a weakness, but a strength that mends hearts and restores love. But you've got to be one who's willing to do it, and you've got to do it sincerely. Not because you're trying to control the situation, not because you're trying to manipulate, not because you want something from them. It's got to be genuine. Because let me tell you, your spouse, if they're not being genuine with you or vice versa, and you're not being genuine with them, oh yeah, that hound dog is going to sniff it out and they're going to know, oh yeah, she doesn't care. Oh, he doesn't care. So why should I? That's not the attitude of gratitude. That's not going to move the needle for your marriage. It's not going to build a strong foundation. So you've got to be willing to take those proactive steps to strengthen your marriage, to build that secure foundation, right? The glue. What does that look like? Because you cannot build the house on sand. You want to build it on the rocks. Active listening, better together time, practicing that forgiveness. Then, as a couple, you can overcome obstacles and create a lasting, fulfilling marriage that is giving and is vibrant. And you're like, yeah, I really want to be with you. Because I get it. You're going to have moments that you don't want to be together. I get it. And that's okay. That's called real life. Acknowledge it. And then next step. But I want to remind you of this. Love is not a destination, right? It is a journey that requires dedication. Are you willing to give it? Effort. Yep, it's the work that no one wants to put in. An unwavering commitment. It's that, yes, I can because I said I do, so I will. My friend, the next time you feel the odds are stacked against you, choose to rewrite your love story and create a love that defies statistics. Go in peace, be present, be incredible, be you. I love you so very much. I cannot wait to see you on the other side. Blessings, hugs, and lots of love. We'll talk to you real soon. Have a glorious, blessed day. Bye-bye.
Feeling inspired, ready to train for life and love your journey? Visit createyournow.com for more incredible resources to help you along the way. We'll see you next time on Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie. And remember, always be sure you consult your physician before beginning any health and fitness plan.